28th August. Is that right? 524. Yeah. So we have 4 verses: 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. We have about 5-6 verses left in chapter 5, and then we do a recap of the entire chapter 5. Then we go to chapter 6. Is that okay? We were just talking about you yesterday, Zana. Good, something good. So I'll write some things on the board. Give me 5 minutes. So this BG overview or Bhagavad Gita overview is basically every chapter overview that we are doing. Can someone give me an acronym for chapter 1? Does anyone remember? Doubt. D-O-U-B-T. Now what's an acronym? A short form? Yeah, an abbreviation, a short form to remember. So here what we do is each chapter we are breaking down into acronyms. We break it down into sections. Each chapter of the Bhagavad Gita we break it down into sections. And each section has a name. All the names together, all the title heads, what we do is make an acronym. So here, chapter 1, it's doubt, where D stands for the first 12 verses, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan, the dialogue between Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan. And then O stands for ominous results. U stands for uncertainty. B stands for bewilderment of Arjun, and T is turning point, where actually Arjun tells Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he tells Krishna, I cannot fight. Then starts chapter 2. The acronym is Gita. The acronym is very apt because chapter 1, the Bhagavad Gita, begins with a doubt of purpose of life, a doubt of what is this, whole catastrophe, this whole life, what is material, what is spiritual, what is, there's a whole confusion, so many doubts in our head. So chapter 1, the Bhagavad Gita, begins with the doubt of a student. Chapter 2 is, the acronym is Gita because actually if you check the name of the chapters also, some contents of Gita summarized. Krishna tries to teach Arjun the entire concept of Bhagavad Gita in just this one chapter. So what are the rest 16 chapters? Rest of the 16 chapters are actually an elaboration of the second chapter. So Gita, where G stands for, the first 10 verses stand for Guru, where Arjun accepts Krishna as his Guru, as his spiritual master, surrenders unto him and tells him, I am your disciple. Whatever you instruct me, I shall follow. Please instruct me. This is what he says. I stands for identity, where Krishna reveals the foundation of spiritual life. Anyone wants any spirituality in their life, the first thing they have to realize that they are not even this body, they are the soul. That Sat Chit Anand is what is our real identity. So I stands for identity. T is two dharmas. Each one of us as a soul realizes that we have 2 dharmas to follow. One pertaining to the body, the responsibilities, the obligations that we have according to our karma, according to our destiny. And the second responsibility is what we have of this identity as a soul. Our connection with Krishna has to be re-established. So how to balance these two is what 2 dharmas is all about. A, Atmaram. This is a quick diversion, is where at 2.54, chapter 2, verse number 54, Arjun asks a question. Arjun asks a question saying that someone who is fixed in Krishna consciousness, how does he walk? What's his language? What's his behavior? What's his speech? How does he sit and how does he walk? Right? So basically he is asking, how does a person really behave once he is a Sthita Pragya, once he is fixed in Krishna consciousness, once his mind is stable, how does such a person behave? So Krishna calls this person Atmaram. That's why this A stands for Atmaram. Right? From 54 to 72 is where Krishna describes a person who is Atmaraman, who has realized that I am not this body, I am the soul. So all these verses are pertaining to that. So when chapter 3 again begins with a question or a doubt of Arjun. And what is the mnemonic? What is the acronym? Tree. Where T stands for Tyag. The first 9 verses, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
The first 9 verses beginning with Arjun's question. He is still confused about whether to renounce everything, because that's what he wanted to do, or whether to work. So Krishna makes him understand what is exactly the meaning of Tyag or renunciation. So T stands for Tyag, R stands for rungs of a ladder. Rungs of a ladder, the different yoga systems that are there, and he makes Arjun understand where renunciation and where does work stand. Are they two different ladders? They're simply rungs of the same ladder. Once you work and you're purified, you will automatically come to the point of real renunciation, where you renounce your spirit of proprietorship, not the objects. The sense of proprietorship that we have in our heart is what we need to renounce. That is the real renunciation. So after teaching the rungs of ladder, E stands for exemplary. No, then he teaches, Krishna says that how there are people in the past who've been exemplary. He gives an example of Janak Maharaj. He gives an example of himself. He says, I'm not bound by any karma. I don't have any duties or obligations to perform, but I'm still doing things. Krishna in Dwarka, it is revealed in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that he would get up in the morning, he would perform his morning rituals, he would meditate on himself. There is no one else superior than him. Right? And then why would he do that? Does he need to do that? There is no karma for him, there is no obligation, but he still does it because he says, if I don't do it, no one will do it. As an example is what you need to set. So even if you're renounced, once you've renounced, or your sense of proprietorship is gone, are you ready to leave everything and go? You still have to act for the sake of others, to be an example for others. So that is exemplary, where Krishna is prodding Arjun to be an exemplary person rather than just artificially renounce everything and go to a secluded place. The last E stands for enemy of the soul. This again begins with a question. Arjun says, I understand everything. I understand I'm the soul and I'm not this body and everything, but still, after knowing everything, sometimes there's this powerful force which makes you commit sin. What is that force? Papam chariti. Chariti is like pulling. To perform sinful acts, there is something inside which pulls. So Krishna reveals this enemy. He says it's an enemy of the soul who pulls you to perform lusty, sinful acts, that is lust. So enemy of the soul, E stands for enemy of the soul, and Krishna reveals it to be lust. He says Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samadbhava. When mode of passion and anger unite, and then there's lust. And this lust is what makes us work towards sinful acts. And then we get sinful reactions. After that became clear, then he also gave him a clue as to how to get rid of this lust. And he says it's only knowledge. When you get to know, when you have transcendental knowledge, that will cure this lusty propensities in us. That's how he begins chapter 4. Years. I was thinking TK. TK is transcendental knowledge. The name of the chapter is Transcendental Knowledge, and the acronym for chapter 4 is years. Years is how you can hear transcendental knowledge, where E stands for eternal education. Where Krishna reveals the history of Bhagavad Gita, he says it's nothing new. The same thing I've spoken to Vivaswan, who is the sun god, millions of years back. And then when it is lost, I'm speaking to you again. What is the qualification for hearing it? Bhakto sime sakhacheti. You are my friend and also my devotee, and also that you are non-envious, and that's why I can speak this knowledge to you, Arjun. So is it something new that Gita is something that Krishna made up in the battlefield of Kurukshetra?
No.
No, it's the same old religion which Krishna is giving it back, right? So after these verses, A stands for
Accurate knowledge.
accurate understanding. First he reveals that why he descends on this earthly planets. He says yada yada idharmasya paritranaya sadhunam janma karma cha medavyam. All this is between the first 10 verses. It's under eternal education. This is what transcendental knowledge is all about. Once you have the knowledge, how do you accurately understand it? By applying it. So 11 to 15, 4.11 to 4.15 is the accurate understanding. He said it's just not that you know. After you know, you have to apply. Right? So he gives us the understanding of how to accurately, practically apply this in 5 verses. And R stands for reactions. He makes Arjun understand the 3 types of karmas. Good karma, vikarma, karma, vikarma and akarma. Right? After these 3 there is sacrifices. Then he gives a whole list. I think there were about 9 or 10 of them. 10 types of sacrifices that different people at different levels or status of their life can perform. Brahmacharis, grihastas, sannyasis, or who else was there? Ashtang yogis, Gyan yogis. All these different type of yogis, what type of sacrifices can they perform? After enlisting all this, what happens? He starts with chapter 5, and that's where we are right now. Step P. So I'll write that here. The name of the chapter is Karma Yoga.
Action and Krishna.
Yeah, the different thing is action in Krishna consciousness, and the acronym is STEP. S stands for stay in the world. Krishna explains to Arjun that escapism is absolutely no choice. You cannot leave what you're doing right now. You have to stay in this world and be purified by acting in Krishna consciousness. How many verses are there in this?
1 to 12.
Verse number 1 to verse number 12 is stay in the world. Verse number 13 to 16 is 3 doers. Equal vision 17 to 28. The last verse, verse number 29, is the peace formula. So we are here at equal vision. Quick recap of chapter 5. Krishna says, which is better? Again Arjun asks the question to make it to drill it into our head. Because everyone thinks spiritual life means सबको छोड़ छाड़ के भाग जाओ. Isn't it? Wife है, husband है, बच्चे हैं. It's all Maya. Heard it somewhere? They may be, I'm not saying no. And we have a responsibility too that we need to fulfill, and that is what will purify us. Or what happens, Krishna says, if we simply renounce, the heart is not pure yet. So what will happen? It will force us to do impure things, act in sinful activities, because the senses demand activity. That will again give us a reaction. Again you have to take a birth again to fulfill those reactions. So then you're stuck. Your renunciation is simply temporary, or in other words, artificial, because the heart is not yet purified. So Krishna says, stay in the world and act in. Why do you act? For Krishna's pleasure. And then he explains that if you think you are the doer, who is the doer? There are 3 doers. Number 1,
The Lord.
the Supreme Lord, the Super Soul, the Paramatma within our heart. He is the doer. And then the material nature, the Prakriti. Material nature is the second doer. And the primary doer is where everything begins, the soul, because of his desire. What we did in Journey of Self-Discovery is the grid that I drew for Three doers. Everything begins with the desire of the soul. Material world or Prakriti or Krishna's hands, what does he do? He executes it for us. The time element, the three modes of material nature, the material world, yeah, everything combined together to fulfill or to execute our desire. For example, a restaurant. There's a person who comes, a customer who comes, he sits down, he has a desire, so he places an order. To whom? To the waiter. The waiter goes to the kitchen. In the kitchen there's a chef who takes the ingredients, cooks everything and serves it to the customer. The customer eats it, enjoys it and leaves.
Pays the bill.
Pays the bill to the cashier. Who's the cashier? Paramatma. So what you have eaten, you have to pay for that. You eaten a pizza, you pay for a dosa?
No.
Eaten a pizza, pay for a pizza. Eaten a dosa, pay for a dosa. Had water? So jao. Yeah? Is that right? So we get the point. Who are the three doers here? Ourselves, who represent the customer. All the other elements which help us execute our desire, that is the waiter, the chef, the kitchen, the ingredients, all this is Prakriti, material nature. And then God is the cashier, the Paramatma, the judge, who judges and awards us the results, the reactions. So these are the three doers. And he says, Krishna says, that once you realize that what is the Paramatma doing? He is simply fulfilling all our desires. This material body that he has given us. When you say, that why don't I have a material body like that or material situation like that? Because you asked for it. You're paying it right now. This material body is equal to my payment to the cashier. My own desires have created this particular situation for me, this material body for me, this material circumstance, this time, this everything that this circumstance that I am in is what I am paying for what I have already enjoyed in the past. Good or bad. Both. Right now I am making a payment through this material body. Whatever desires are coming, it's going to be served to me in the future point of time. It takes time. Like a chef, everything is not ready, it's not stale, it's cooked inside. Correct? So equal vision, once we understand that Paramatma is so compassionate, when we see different bodies, a person who is self-realized, when he sees different bodies, does he see a dog, an animal, a brahmana, a cat, a cow? No, he just sees different desires being fulfilled by that same Paramatma. And then he sees that equal vision he gets. He sees everyone as a living entity, as a small jiva, as a part and parcel of Krishna, who simply right now in this material body because of his desires, sinful or pious. That's right? Is that clear? So that is equal vision. Right now we are at 5.24. Chapter 5, verse number 24. So in 23, what I wrote down on the board, the last thing is the pleasure of Krishna consciousness plus the conviction that nothing in this world brings everlasting enjoyment is equal to tolerance of pushings of mind and senses. You'll be able to tolerate the pushing of the mind and senses if you have experienced the pleasure of Krishna consciousness. When you chant, when you come to the temple, when you associate with devotees, that A, B, C, D, when you perform, association with devotees, B stands for book reading, C stands for chanting, D stands for diet of prasad. When you enjoy that pleasure of Krishna consciousness, adding to your conviction, your intellectual conviction that Krishna consciousness is the best and anything in this world is not going to give me everlasting happiness. Happiness thoda dega, but then everlasting or permanent happiness is what I want, not temporary. Temporary happiness makes us more miserable. Correct? So permanent happiness, if I want, I have to go back to the spiritual world. It's not there in this material world. These two things combined, my pleasure of Krishna consciousness plus my conviction in Krishna consciousness, when these two things combine, I'll be able to tolerate the pushings of my mind and my senses. This is real renunciation. Right? So we start from 24 onwards. So generally we follow a pattern that before starting any particular section, we read out all the verses that we've already done in last class, and then when we come to each verse, we read that out also. So chapter 5, verse number 24. Is that right? Please repeat. Yo antah sukha antaramas तथांतर ज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्म निर्वाणम् ब्रह्म भूतोऽधिगच्छति. Translation, can all of us read together? Start. One whose happiness is within,
who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
Right. So here Krishna is explaining someone with equal vision, someone who has understood that Krishna is simply sanctioning my desires. I'm the primary doer, Krishna is the compassionate person, material nature is only executing what I want. Once you have this thing, once you can see things as they are, what happens? His happiness is within. What do you mean within? Means he doesn't need anything else, any material object to satisfy or to make him happy. He understands his connection with Krishna, that he is an eternal person. Nothing really, that experience is very different. Chapter 5, verse number 24. So what is he experiences happiness within. And what else? So we must understand that to experience this happiness within, only then we can move forward in Krishna consciousness. Without this experience, it's very difficult to move in Krishna consciousness, because the entire material world is literally preaching you exactly the opposite. The spiritual world is so boring. Material world, देखो कितना enjoyment है यहाँ पे, parties है, what else is there, kitty is there, what else is there, movies is there, so many things are there. What is spiritual life? वही प्रसाद, वही चैंटिंग, एक ही मंत्र चैंट करते रहते, उसमें भी चेंज नहीं. Something new, something different. This is what everyone will preach to you. मंदिर जाके क्या करते हैं? When I was in college, they used to tell me 4 hours you're in the temple. What do you do in the temple for so long? Because everyone has a concept, जाओ घंटी बजाओ 2 मिनट बैठो for एहसान करना है भगवान पे, and then come out. That's right. Everyone has this whole thing. What do you do for 2 hours in Bhagavad Gita class? I'm surprised we are not sleeping here. Right? So that is what. So we urgent. What is urgent? It is urgent to obtain a higher taste of Krishna consciousness. Because without this higher taste, this lower taste is, will keep holding on to it. When you see the monkey, you've been to these hill stations, that's a lot of times when monkeys snatch away things, when you try to hide them, how do you take it back? You have to give them something else, something better, something else which they feel is more attractive. And then what happens? They take it and immediately drop it. Especially, Vrindavan monkeys. You have to give them like peanuts or chana or something. Then what happens? Whatever your specs or whatever they've taken it, sunglasses, specs, bead bags, whatever you hold on to is what is going to go, right? And then once you give them this chana or peanuts or bananas or which they think is more valuable to them, they'll immediately drop things. Same thing with the child, same thing with the mind. When you give it something higher, it will automatically drop low things. If you go to the prasadam hall and we give you peanuts, and in the next plate there is cashews, what will you pick? Cashews. And then roasted and salted cashews in the next bowl. Obviously roasted and that's more tasty. So does it mean that you've given up the peanuts? Tyag kar diya peanuts? No, we have something more higher, something more tastier. So this higher taste of Krishna consciousness will easily make us leave the other lower things. So how do you get this higher taste? By hearing. Hearing what? Krishna Katha, the lectures that are there in your phone, hopefully. है क्या? नहीं है तो देते हैं. And have good association. That doesn't mean once you come to the temple, I remember for us association na temple में आके gossip करो, no problem. That facility is also there. You have to pick your association, what you want. Yeah, you can come to the temple also and gossip. I was surprised. I'm not surprised. It's possible. Even in the temple we can gossip. It's possible. And sometimes we come with our own baggages. Can't help it. You need to come here and find good association. Something that will help both the parties. Yeah, both the parties where you can grow. So verse number 5.24, Krishna reveals that this particular person, he derives happiness from within, who is active, rejoices within. His aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. When you follow all these things, you will attain the Supreme. 5.25 Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishayah Kshina Kalmashaha Chinna Dvaidhayatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hiterataha. Everyone please read the translation together. Start.
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme.
Right. So here now Krishna is saying so many things. So Krishna is giving gives more symptoms of those seeking satisfaction in spirit, not matter. All these different things that he is saying. So verses 24 and 25, the last thing if you say, what is Krishna said? One who is cleansed of all sinful reactions. So that means you wait. And only then you will come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Somehow this verse number 24 and 25 might make you seem that Krishna consciousness is thoda difficult. Higher taste tak wait karna padega. And and then what is your liberation from sinful reactions, all this, till you wait. Till that time you can't come to platform of Krishna consciousness. It seems like that, this 24 and 25. But then if you see, it's more as a caution. That this is the ultimate goal, this is the ideal. Everyone in the class is not a topper. But the topper becomes an ideal. It is possible. So then if you see in verse number 26, Krishna gives a quick assurance. Kama Krodha Vimuktanam Yatinam Yatachetasam Abhito Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Viditatmanam. Together. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in Supreme in the very near future. That means aayega, don't worry. Yeah, it will come. In Srimad, there's one purport there's one verse in the purport. Can you see? It's from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 22, verse number 39. What page number is it in your book?
266.
Page number 268. I want everyone to go through that. Yat pada pankaja palash vilas bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santah tadvannarikta matayo yatayopi ruddha sroto ganastam aranam bhaja vasudevam. It means just try to worship in devotional service Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even great sages are not able to control the forces of the senses as effectively as those who are engaged in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep-grown desire for fruitive activities. To think of oneself or to be selfish is something which is very deep-rooted. Is it easy to take it out in a day or in a year or even in a lifetime? Sometimes it's difficult. That too when Kali Yuga, it's a very short lifespan. So here it's assuring, there's an additional assurance in Srimad Bhagavatam. He's saying that you just worship Vasudev. Because why? Even those yogis who are sitting and just trying to control their senses devoid of devotion, what happens? It's difficult even for them. But whom is it easy for?
For a devotee.
For a devotee who is engaged in worshipping Vasudev. Because worshipping Vasudev is such an engrossing experience that even you will forget that I have to control my senses. Your senses are automatically controlled. Krishna has another name called Rishikesh. What does it mean?
Controller of senses.
Yeah, Rishikesh means controller of the senses. Or one who can control his own senses and the senses of others. Can we control someone else's senses? खुद के तो करते खुद के नहीं होते, किसी और के कैसे करेंगे? But Krishna is someone who can control his as well as everyone else's. He can capture. Another name for Krishna is Madan Mohan. Madan is Cupid. Madan means Cupid. Madan Mohan is one who even enchants Cupid. Now Cupid has these arrows. And during Ras Leela, the Cupid was trying to hit because he could see that there is no lust in the heart of Krishna. He's all pure. In 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, it is there where this Madan is standing and he is trying to hit someone who is hit by the arrow of Cupid. You might think that it's only in fantasy, but actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the different arrows of Cupid is mentioned. What are the effects of each arrow? Now we can remember when Premnidhi Prabhu was giving a Srimad Bhagavatam class long back, that was about 5-6 years back. That time he was speaking about the different arrows of Cupid. They applied it on Vishwamitra Muni. They applied it on Markandeya Rishi. They tried, but they couldn't because he was meditating on the Supreme Lord. So he was not enchanted. So here this Madan was trying to enchant Krishna. And when he came down with his agenda and when he saw Krishna,
He got enchanted.
He got lost. He got apparently hit by his own arrows. Right? So here is what the importance. I'm trying to explain the importance of the service to lotus feet of Krishna. Senses are automatically controlled where everyone else is artificially trying to do it. So 5.25, Krishna consciousness seems difficult. And 5.26 is Krishna's assurance. I'll write K for Krishna and lazy. K is for Krishna. And there's a beautiful analogy given in the... Is it here? 5.26.
Yeah.
The analogy, is it there? Yeah. Analogy of a fish, a tortoise, and one more.
Birds.
Birds?
Yeah.
Let's just come then, no? So how do you become purified in Krishna consciousness? So to explain that, there's another verse. Darshana dhyana samsparsher matsya kurma vihangamaha swanya patnyani pushnanti tathaham api Padmaja. Padmaja is who? The name of the Lord. By vision, by meditation, and by touch, only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offsprings. Now, when they lay eggs, this fish, this tortoise, and this bird, they lay eggs. How do these eggs are? How do the children born of the eggs? Is there a process that the parent has to do?
No.
Then, what does the fish do? Vision. Only keeps looking at the eggs. What does the tortoise do? Because the tortoise lays eggs on the shore, not even in the water. Yeah? Lays eggs on the shore and then it's in the water. So he is meditating on his eggs. And what does the bird do? By touch, that hatching or whatever, that warmth he's giving. And then what happens?
Similarly, Lord,
In time,
they hatch.
they hatch. Right? Similarly, the fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them. The tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on land and tortoise meditates on the eggs while in the water. Similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to that abode simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. By engagement in Krishna consciousness. When you chant, it's like that meditation of the tortoise. But I want to go back. You're doing what the spirit soul is doing in the spiritual world, meditating, serving Krishna. When you serve deities, when you come to the temple, when you look at the beautiful Lord, it's simply meditation. You can sit at home and remember Gopinath's beautiful, his lotus feet, his waist, his hands, his flute, everything, anything connected to Krishna. When you meditate, what is the effect happening in your heart?
Purified.
It's purification. And slowly, maybe you won't know, you won't understand, but you're getting closer to Krishna, to his supreme abode, simply by this process of meditating on him or performing devotional service. Correct? So there's an analogy of fish, tortoise and birds. So after this wonderful analogy, we go to the next verse.
Such a beautiful
Analogy. It's very good. 27 and 28 are together. Krishna is giving more characteristics of a person with equal vision. What is that? Sparshan kritva bahir bhayams Chakshushchaivantare bhruvoho Pranapanau samau kritva Nasabhyantaracharino Yatendriya manobuddhir Munir moksha parayanaha Vigadecha bhaya krodho Yaha sada mukta eva saha. Translation together? Start. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses and intelligence, the transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. ये क्या है? This is an introduction of chapter 6. How does Krishna know it's chapter 6? It's the end of chapter 5. Yeah? So here I am reading the second paragraph of the purport. After explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, that means verses 17 to 28, 27. कौन सा verse चल रहा है अभी? 28 only, no? till 26. 17 to 26. These 10 verses, what has Krishna done? He is explaining the process of liberation. Means what are the ideals that a person must have. No anger. He must be liberated from sinful reactions. He simply has to wait. He simply has to perform devotional service, like how the tortoise fish are meditating and looking at the eggs. The Lord gives instruction to Arjun as to how one can come to that position by the practice of mysticism or yoga known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divisible into an 8-fold procedure called Yama, Niyama, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharan, Dhyan and Samadhi. Yam Niyam is do's and don'ts. Like how we have, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication. This is basic. Come to the mode of goodness. Sabse pehle. Yama, what to do. Like how we have A, B, C, D. These are to do's. Like association, bad association. B is for book reading, C is chanting, D is that of prasad. Yama, Niyama. And then Asan. Then you take up your asans where you practice all the different postures. Once that is perfect, that is pranayam. That you start drilling your respiratory, stabilizing your respiration. So once your body is under your control, which takes about lakhs of years, thousands of years. Then there's pratyahar, then there's dharan, then there's dhyan, and finally samadhi. Hari bol. And this is an option which Krishna is giving to Arjun in chapter 6. And what do you obtain when you've done this is verse number 29. Now he's just giving like a trailer. ट्रेलर जैसे मूवी से आने से पहले एक ट्रेलर होता है ना. Even you go to watch a movie, before it starts with trailers of the movies coming ahead. The same way Krishna is giving a trailer of chapter 6. Before that, very important verse is 29, because this is what Krishna wants us to meditate when we are coming to the chapter of Ashtanga Yoga. Verse number 29. Can we read that? Why am I not doing 29? Because we're going to do whole chapter 6 on it. So 27 and 28 is trailer of chapter 6. So we're doing verse number 29. ठीक है? भोक्तारं यज्ञ तपसां सर्वलोक महेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्ति पृच्छति मृच्छति ऐसे पृच्छति मृच्छति. Translation start. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So why does one perform Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga? To get peace from pangs of material existence. That is this peace formula. Verse number 29 is the peace formula Krishna is giving. If you want peace, then you have to understand few things. Number 1. So the first line of the verse is Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Now Bhoktaram. What does this word Bhokta mean? The beneficiary. Or one who is going to do, who is going to enjoy. Bhokta. The one who is going to enjoy. That is G. Bhokta is one who is going to enjoy. As if you are cooking, the one who eats is the Bhokta, is the enjoyer. So Krishna is saying Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. Anyone performs any yagya, anyone performs any tapasya, any form of worship. Who is the Bhokta? Krishna. If you doing any yagya for a demigod, the demigod has to pay tax to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, any yagya that any king would do, the first enjoyer or the bhog would be given to Vishnu, and all the other demigods would partake the prasad left over from Vishnu. Each one would come and take their part also, because the taxes have to be paid to the demigods. Yeah. So once Vishnu enjoys, everyone gets their share, their quota. So eventually, who's the Bhokta?
Krishna.
Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. This is what you need to remember, that whatever I do, whatever sacrifice that I do, now sacrifice doesn't mean only like a fire yagya in the house. You must remember that it should be for the pleasure of Krishna. If I am taking care of my children, that is my sacrifice. That is for the pleasure of Krishna. When I do my business, I go through so many headaches. That is for pleasure of Krishna. When I study and take so much effort because I have to make something out of my life, it's for the pleasure of Krishna. This is how a devotee lives. He lives, he breathes for the pleasure of Krishna. Because Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram means, what does that mean? Sarva Loka Maheshwaram?
Entire
Of all
world,
planets.
all planets.
Of all planets and all demigods. Who is the Lord?
Krishna.
Krishna. So ultimately our head should bow down to Him only. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. And why? Why should He be the Bhokta and why should He be the Lord of all planets? Because He is a supreme person, and also because He is Surida. Surit means what? This word Surit. Do you know what does this word Surit mean? You know, in Sanskrit there are 3 words for. There was a lecture given by Prabhupada in Seattle on October 14th, 1968. In that he was speaking about this word Surit. In this line he said there are 3 words for friend, for a friend in Sanskrit. There's Mitra, there's Bandhu, and there is Surit. So what does Mitra mean?
A friend.
A friend. All 3 means friend, but there's some difference. Why there are 3 words for the same thing? Yeah, there are different names in Sanskrit for different kinds of friend. One friend is Bandhu, one friend is Mitra, one is called Surit. So Krishna says, I am Surit. Why is not saying Mitra or Bandhu? Bandhu Nam Sarva Bhuta Sham. He says Suridam Sarva Bhuta Nam. Yeah. Surit means a real friend. Mitra is a social friend. This is the meaning in Sanskrit. I'm not making it up.
And Bandhu could also be a fellow person. Or
Bandhu is official friendship.
official friend.
So Bandhu is official friendship. Mitra is social friendship. A Surit is a real friend. This is meanings in Sanskrit. Surit means one who actually desires good for his friend. It's a sincere friend. Mitra is a social friend.
Social friend.
Bandhu is a official friend. Surit is a real friend, one who wants good for his other friend. Yeah. So Krishna is Surit. I'm reading the lecture. He is always wishing my good, and he is therefore canvassing for me. Please, Krishna says, you surrender unto me. Yeah. Because he knows this is good for me. You and me. Mere liye bhi. This is good for us. Krishna is canvassing for us. He is saying surrender unto me because egoistic. Does he say this? He says because this is good for you. That's why he is forcing us, he is compelling us, literally he is begging us. Almost every, when you come to 18, almost every shloka he says that, you come to me, you come to me, you come to me. Because he knows this is good for us. Prabhupada says, just like a father says, my dear boy, why are you acting independently? Foolishly you are suffering. Just surrender unto me, I shall give you protection. So what is the meaning of Lord of all planets and demigods? Who can give you protection? Demigods?
No.
Any master of a particular planet or a region of a particular planet? The Supreme Lord. It's that Surit who's going to give us all protection, and we should surrender only to Him. Yeah. So then Prabhupada says, similarly, Krishna is a friend just like a father. He is always asking, and He is always going with me in every type of body. Even if I get a body of a dog, you'd live with your dog? In his kennel or in his...
No.
Krishna lives. Yeah. And then Krishna is always there with me. Prabhupada is saying this. Even with cats, dogs, hogs, or any type of lower animal. What is lower than that? There are insects which live in dung of animals. And Krishna is there even in that place with me. That is a Surit. That's a real friend. He has no hesitation, Prabhupada is saying. He is so friendly that wherever his friend is going, he is going. He is also going there. As Paramatma, he is doing friendly activities. He is sending his bona fide servant as Guru, as spiritual master. He is coming as incarnations. He is coming as a devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is helping us in so many ways. But we are so foolish that we are not accepting him. Nobody can be a better friend than Krishna. It's a Surit. But we are so much unfortunate, so much captivated by the external energy, Maya, that we simply don't accept Krishna as our friend. This is the end of lecture. This is the end of chapter 5. Remembering this, if you simply remember that how Krishna is such a sweet friend, what happens? There's no one else I have to please in this world. There's no one else. Imagine having a friend who has no expectations from you. Can you imagine, when you have a relationship, when that other person has absolutely zero expectations from you? Your life becomes so much more easier. Isn't it? Imagine if your husband has no expectations from you. Your children have no expectations from you. Your neighbors don't have any expectations from you. Simply giving. Wow. Only a dream. Fairy tale mein hota hai aise. It's reality. It's Krishna who is doing that for us. And He promises us that this is what the spiritual world is all about. Where no one has any expectations from each other. It's simply a relationship of giving. So much more happiness. And then Prabhupada says, we are so unfortunate that we don't want to accept this. Right? So with this note, we'll begin chapter 6. I'm writing the acronym on the board. You can copy it. So Krishna ends this chapter at such a sweet note. That I am Surit. So acronym for chapter 6 is easy. ट्रेलर से तो लगा नहीं easy है. Keep your attention in between your eyes, this, that, my God. Can someone tell me the name of chapter 6? Easy? E-A-S. So chapter 1 is doubt, chapter 2 is Gita, tree, years, finally chapter 6 is easy step. What is it easy? Let us see what is so easy in chapter 6 now.
What's E-E-A-S, right?
E-A-S.
Just E-A-S, right?
E-A-S.
E-A-S.
Sorry?
Can I
You can at the end of this course. This I got from the office. Yeah. You can ask Sushila Manjari because she gave me. Ashtanga Yoga. Enemy or friend? Who's the enemy? Who's the friend? Who's the friend? Now we know. 5.29 Krishna said,
He's the
I'm not the boss, I'm the friend. And who's the enemy? We will know now. Okay. That is verse number 1 to 9. 6.1 to 6.9 is this section. Enemy or friend. Ashtanga Yoga verses 10 to 36. Ashtanga Yoga, the trailer, movie has to be longer than the trailer. The trailer is 2 verses. The movie is 26 verses. Success and failure, verse number 37 to 45. And then who is the best yogi? Now Krishna stopped giving all the options. Dhyan Yoga is what we are doing now. Gyan Yoga, he's given an option. Knowledge, transcendental knowledge. He's given an option of Karma Yoga. Correct? Now he's going to say which is the best of all yogis. Correct? In verse 46, 47. Again a trailer for chapter 7. So this is very nice. Krishna gives a trailer first and then he shows them. Very systematic person. Is that okay? So right now we'll have to do verses number 1 to 9 and then you all can go for darshan. And I have to message Prem. Can we start? 6.1 to 6.9. We go on and on. We'll read the translations together. Or do you want to take turns? We will read it together. Then we don't sleep. That's it. We keep reading it together. 6.1 to 6.9 we read all and then we come back for elaboration on each verse. So coming back we'll do next Tuesday. We'll read from 1 to 9. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Is everyone at 6.1?
Yeah.
Anashritah karma phalam.
Anashritah karma phalam.
Karyam karma karoti yaha.
Karyam karma karoti yaha.
Sa sannyasi sa yogi cha.
Sa sannyasi
cha yogi cha. Na niragnir na chakriyah.
Nairagir chakriyah.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So here again Krishna says, काम तो करना पड़ेगा. Chapter 6 verse number 2. Yam sanyasamiti prahur.
Yam sanyasamiti prahur.
Yogam tam vidhi pandava.
Yogam tam vidhi pandava.
Nahi hya sanyasta sankalpo.
Nahi
Sankalpo. Yogi bhavati kaschana.
Yogi bhavati kaschana.
Translation start. What is called renunciation, you should view to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Clear? 6.3. Arurukshor munir yogam.
आयुषोर्मुनेर्योगम्
कर्म कारणमुच्यते
कर्मकारणमुच्यते
योगारूढस्य तस्यैव
योगारूढस्य तस्यैव
शमः कारणमुच्यते
कारणमुच्यते
Together, for one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. 6.4 Yada hinendriyartheshu
यदाहिन्द्रियार्थेषु
न कर्म स्वनुसज्जते स्वनुसज्जते
अनुसज्जते
सर्वसंकल्पसन्न्यासी
सर्वसंकल्पसन्न्यासी
योगारूढस्तदोच्यते
योगारूढस्य दोच्यते.
Together, a person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. 6.5 Udharedatmanatmanam
उदरेरात्मनात्मानम्
नात्मानम् अवसादयेत्
नात्मानम् अवसादयेत्
आत्मैवो ह्यात्मनो आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुर् आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः.
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः.
Translation: One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. 6.6 Bandhuratmatmanastasya
बन्धुरात्मनस्तस्य
येनात्मैवात्मना जितः
येनात्मैवात्मना जितः
अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे
अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे
वर्तितात्मैव शत्रुवत्.
वर्तितात्मैव शत्रुवत्.
Translation: For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Very bold. 6.7 जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
परमात्मा समाहितः
परमात्मा समाहितः
शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु
शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयोः.
तथा मानापमानयोः.
Translation: For one who has conquered the mind, the soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. 6.8 So all these dualities in the mind. 6.8 Jnana Vijnana Triptatma
ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा
कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः
कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः
युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी
युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी
समलोष्ट्राश्मकञ्चनः.
समलोष्ट्राश्मकञ्चनः.
Translation: A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones or gold, as the same. No comments. 1.9 Does this include solitaire? 1.9 6.9 Surin mitraryudasina madhyastha dvesha bandhushu
मध्यस्थ द्वेष
साधुष्वपि च पापेषु
साधुष्वपि च पापेषु
समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते.
समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते.
Translation: a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, the mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all